Why are you always having microphone trouble? Is it the cat?
It's not the cat, it's the fact that I don't live with this thing like set up in front of me, right? I usually want to use my computer for other things than just being a talking head of some
Costin,
sort.
we're gonna have to get this guy to build a proper studio. Hello, everyone. This is Ryan Naraine with the Three Body Problem. We are up to episode 72. The boys are back from Ring Zero Countermeasures 2025 conference in Ottawa, Canada last week, where we were able to be on stage for the first time together to do the podcast together as a group. Pretty awesome experience. How was it for you guys?
Pretty
It's
good,
cool,
bro.
man.
Like, yeah, the only thing I think that I made it out first, and then you guys got stuck for a while longer.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about the weather.
We're not gonna talk about the fact that like everybody else got stuck. I barely, like, we were sitting on the plane for 2 hours. They de-iced it, we left, and then everyone else's shit got canceled. So I'm not complaining, you know. We made it out.
Yeah.
But dude,
I
Ottawa,
spent 39.
like, people were nice. People were super cool. It was nice to see the fans. It was good to get like some live reactions. I could tell when I was talking over Costin because people looked disappointed, so I could shut the fuck up, you know, in real time, you know, and let the man talk.
It was awesome. It was a Friday afternoon. We had a packed room. You know, folks were there very, very well engaged. Costin
They
told his
opened the
usual
bar
stories.
right on time. Yeah.
It was incredible. Also happened at Ottawa, Canada. Costin launched TLP Black officially. I see there's like a LinkedIn page. There's a whole, like, it's all real. Costin, you want to give us the quick pitch? Congrats on TLP Black. What is TLP Black?
Something black. I guess we've been working on this for a while, for over a year now, and the focus has always been to first have some goods and then launch the website. So I don't like it when companies come and they just publish a website and they have nothing, but they, I don't know, go out and gather like a lot of venture capital for nothing, actually. So we thought, let's do it the other way around. First, we'll put together some services, some ideas, like trainings, like the one we did in Ottawa at Countermeasure about iOS forensics. And when all that is up and working, we'll put up a website, which we did at tlpblack.net. And we want to keep it updated, publish research blogs, like things that we are working on, things that are interesting, IOX whenever is possible. You know me.
You're very
happen.
Is there a product that you're selling?
No product. Only services. Things like feeds, Yara rules, things like that.
I mean, those are products.
Yeah,
just in the company parlance, like, those are products, right? Like, let me say this as an advisor and as a customer.
You're a customer. So what is he selling? Because he doesn't know how to sell it, apparently.
I'm looking at him to see if I'm like, if I'm even allowed to say. I'll follow his lead.
TLP Black, bro.
It is TLP Black. That's why I'm like, you know, I don't want to fuck myself over here by being too candid. But you've got. I think it's funny because you have, even by what you're describing right now, way more than what most companies have when they announce, when they launch, when they decide to go public, and you're underselling the absolute shit out of it. So I'm not gonna force you into a pitch.
Give me the pitch.
I don't know, man, because Costin, are you like, how much of this do you want to like actually discuss? Because I'm ready to gush as to like the quality of what you've got there. And I say that not just like as a friend, but because like I am a customer. Like, there's a reason why, you know, my research team jumped on that shit the second we could. So you tell me what we can say. Is this the anti-marketing bullshit y'all are pulling on me, where we're not going to sell it, but okay, I don't know if we can sell it, and then all of a sudden the listeners are just like, oh my God, what is going on? What is this shit? And like,
no. Like, everything we have is actually listed on the website. So you can just go on the website, tlpblack.net, and see what is available. Like, we're not overselling anything. All that you see on the website is available. There might be some things which are extra available, but they're not ready yet, like fully ready. But I mean, we are still small, like just a group of people with some very awesome advisors, like yourselves. So thank you for being our advisors.
Funding or no?
We don't have any external funding. It's all funded by ourselves for now. And
Do
we
you
like to
want
keep it
funding?
this way. No, we like to
Do
keep it
you?
this way, and tell you why. Because I think that we know better in which direction to develop our technical services than venture capital, who might be pushing us to develop commercial things or things that will bring like a very quick inflow of money. So that's not the goal here. The goal is to produce something which is of quality, like valuable, and something that gives customers an edge, like a research edge, as opposed to creating like a quick cash flow. That's not the goal here.
Juanito says he's a customer. Is this a product for threat intel practitioners? Is it a product for defenders at organizations? Is it a product for like the threat intel team at Apple? Like what's the sweet spot of your customer base? And the question is, when you, over the years on the podcast, you've said, I put it into my system, I took the IOX and I put it into my system. This is the system you're commercializing, right?
Yeah, this is a system. That's true. Like this is where I've been putting all the IOCs. Like since I left my previous job, I started projecting. Like I started designing new systems that would be required to build threat intelligence support for companies who know how to use it. I think this is the emphasis here, is that you need to know how to use threat intelligence in order to take full advantage of it. So if you don't already have a program that knows how to use feeds, Yara rules, how to leverage that, then it will be a bit difficult to use our services. I keep insisting on services because this is what my accountant said. She said you're not selling any products, you're selling services. According to the law and the fiscal law in Romania, we are selling services. We don't have any products. So
you sound like Dave Vitale. We don't sell tokens, we sell intelligence.
I sound like the guy who learns how to do accounting and like becoming more, accustomed to doing balance sheets and, profit and taxes and all those kind of things.
Businessman Costin is the best Costin. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm happy for you. I know this is something you've been working on for a long time. I mean, the sweet spot is with the audience, so we'll be hearing a lot more from TLP Black in the future. Before we move on, I want to mention, if you listened to the show last week, the live show last week, we have a new sponsor, for real, the folks at Material Security. I want to say thank you to Ryan Noon and the folks at Material Security. I had gotten an early demo of this product when they had gotten like seed funding. They've since raised like $100 million, and I've been getting rave reviews from a lot of CISO friends of mine around their approach to protecting Google Workspaces and Google Drive and the Cloud Office. So thanks again to the folks at Material Security for the sponsorship. Our doors are open for more and more sponsorships. So you'll be hearing a lot more of us.
We're ready to sell out, is what you're saying.
No, we're not going to be selling out.
We will not be insulting any sponsors. I think that's it's protection money. No, I'm kidding. It's actually pretty cool. Don't let me sort of like say some dumb shit at the 11th hour. We have managed to do this. No, seriously, we've managed to do this for a year without as like just out of the goodness. I want to say the goodness of our hearts, but in reality, out of like the hard work that Ryan has been willing to put in, right? Like Costin and I show up, we say our bit, we talk shit for 2-3 hours. We're like, yeah, make it a 4-hour episode. Then we fuck off, and Ryan does a shit ton of work, and then like a podcast materializes, and we're like, this is easy. Why don't people just do this all the time?
Exactly.
And it's great to see all of that sort of has turned into a community, into
a product.
People, well, it's a service. According to Costin's, according to
Romania,
Costin's
we're just a service.
It's a service. No, but what I wanted to say is, like, if you let's look for 10 seconds, right? Let's be self-indulgent and say, like, there's a community around it. There's people showing up to events. There's people showing up to live streams. You have an insane amount of listeners and downloads every month. Like we've been joking about it, but like we keep saying, right, like we have 70 listeners, but like watching the curve of the amount of people that are actually listening to this is insane. The recognition, like the folks who call 3 hours after the episode's released, you get calls from very important and amazing people who are like, have comments, and we're like, guys, like, I'm pretty sure you have important shit to do. Like, you should probably not. This isn't. I don't know that this is like the best way that I expect you to be using your time. And this just feels like after a year of doing this, just because we think it's cool and we're having a nice time and like we want to be a part of the conversation. This getting someone like Material Security and getting some of these other folks who are like willing to support us, it kind of I don't know, man. Like it feels like a kind of validation that this is not just our little hobby project. It is it's a part of this conversation that I think we've been deluding ourselves has not actually arisen around us. I think we wanted to keep the pressure low.
We're still not going to take ourselves too seriously. But we do have a real audience. I think the point you're making is that we do have a real audience and an engaged audience. Man, we get people submit long notes after listening to an episode to their thoughts on it. So shout out to Material Security. Shout out to all the folks who've supported. Shout out to the listeners. I mean, in Canada, I was surprised at how many people had actually listened and had like inside jokes from the podcast. So, all right, enough of this self-indulgence. Costin, you're wearing a suit because you're back from Def Camp, Romania. What is Def Camp? Is like is it like DEF CON?
It is some kind of a Romanian DEF CON, I think. Yeah, that's a good analogy. And actually, they have all these villages, same as DEF CON, like the lockpicking village. And it's pretty big. I mean, 2,000 people. 2,000 people, yeah.
Wow.
And it takes place at the majestic House of the People, the Palace of the Parliament, Ceausescu's huge house.
Like that one in the middle of the square? Like
the
that
one,
big giant.
Absolutely. Yeah. The very, like almost the biggest building in the world. Like now the second, the largest administrative building in the world. Yeah, we've been there. You can visit it as well, but during the conference, I think you can visit it for free. So
cool.
That's also like a fun thing, and a lot of very good talks. By the way, last year we had talks from Mandiant. Obviously, this year as well, a lot of very high quality APT related talks, like APT 41, Lazarus. A lot of talks about Lazarus. Even folks shared IOCs at the end of their talks as a QR code pointing to VirusTotal collection. So to me, that was like super, super awesome.
That's a nice way to do it.
A lot of our friends come into town for it, or is it Romania heavy?
I guess it's Romania heavy, but also a lot of international speakers, including, there were at least 2 speakers that I know from Kaspersky who presented on APT 41, and I think also SOC related topics, but also a lot of AI related talks this year, automation, leveraging AI for offensive purposes, for defensive purposes. AI is pretty big, as you might suspect, at any conference nowadays.
Look at this guy.
Inbaraz was there, by the way. My friend Inbaraz, yeah.
Shout out to
as well as a
Inbar.
few others. Hello.
Did he
hello,
bring any
Timur.
chili vodka or just?
Of course. He's trading palinka with...
No, but you know who brought, right? Our good friend Dan the Matter was the official
Oh my
palinka
God.
That's what I
provider.
just said.
Yeah, he
His
came with like
grandma's
5 bottles.
bathtub palinka.
It had like a quality stamp on it, which was kind of handwritten, so like the best, highest quality for sure.
For all the people here who don't know what the fuck we're talking about, if you were big into SaaS, right, like our old school, amazing threat intel conference, sort of like the predecessor to LabsCon, there were 2 really meaningful, like this is back when we all drank and when some of us drank quite heavily, but 2 important contributors. Inbar Raz would show up every year with a bottle of Israeli chili
whiskey,
liquor, vodka,
Tequila.
and it was, dude, we all complained, but it was amazing. I remember that shit to this day. I remember every shot of this.
Throat.
Yeah, I still feel it. And then our boy Dan Demeter would show up
TLP
with
Black.
Yeah. Well, so you guys have an in-house palinka provider. He would show up with this, like, I don't know if it was like made in a bathtub or it was like Romanian hooch, and just push it for the whole way there. Many people might not remember many talks. They may not remember a whole lot of what happened there, but they remember these these bottles. So
Good
it's good to have some
times.
continuity there.
Good
Yeah.
times. I missed my chance to segue perfectly into our top story when Costin talked about the AI at Dev Camp. We got a breathless marketing report out of Anthropic last night that they disrupted the first reported AI-orchestrated cyber attack campaign. Human operators, Chinese state-sponsored group GTG1002, used role-play prompts to bypass safeguards. Then they deployed Claude Code to an automated pen testing and exploitation engine performing reconnaissance, exploitation, lateral movement, data theft. 80 to 90% of this automated. There's a press release, there's a full technical report, and part of it they mentioned that Claude Code, the attackers told Claude that it was an employee of a legitimate cybersecurity firm and it was being used in defensive testing to do a lot of this automation. I've seen two responses to this. Half of the people are like, holy moly, it's here, we've been predicting this, blah, blah, blah. The other camp, I believe, is Costin's camp. What is your response to this report?
Well, why? Thank you, Costin's camp. I like that. I like that. My response is, where's the IOX? Like, you open the report and like on their page, you say like, get the full report. And I was like, absolutely, I want the full report. I want everything. The full report is like a PDF, which is not very full actually. It's just information that I think that perhaps their marketing department thought it would be interesting for reporters, that would attract a lot of attention. Reporters
They're getting a lot of
it.
big headlines today, yeah.
And they are, absolutely. So that worked 100%. But like from a technical point of view, I'm like, man, okay. So like, what's new here? Even the group like GTG, I was like GTG 1002, and I was trying to remember. I don't remember GTG 1001 nights. Like I don't remember that. Is it like they know about two groups?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
do
I'm guessing
like
they know about two
1,002?
groups.
They know
well,
two
they
groups,
might know
right?
three if they started counting at zero, right?
Zero?
The way maybe, but
It's
no,
like the
because
optimistic.
they keep referring to their own previous campaign. I don't remember what it was, like vibe hacking report. So I'm guessing that's 1001, and this is 1002.
Juanito, listen, the absence of IOX is a big thing here. I mean,
what would be the IOX?
I don't want to put you into a box, but you've
put
been
me in a
like
fucking
this.
box. Like I'm trying to be nice, and like I don't know how to be in this. It's like really fucking hard right now.
All right, you give me a response then. Let me not. I don't want to frame a question and put you. I was gonna say you're Mr. AI here. You're Mr. AI shill here. Defend this shit.
Come on, I'm not here to defend it at all. At all. At the same time, like I don't know. I feel like I'm really harsh on Anthropic.
Do you think it's real?
Yes.
And the fact that I have to ask that question is ridiculous, right? Like
no.
They haven't shown us anything that says it's real.
Let's parse this into like a bunch of different points. Like let's actually spend a little time on this. I know we have some other like really cool stories, but like I think we should discuss this because they're treating this as a sort of landmark thing, and I think we should entertain it in the terms of what they're describing as the landmark thing, because whether it's real, it's not, whether it's true or it's not, this is the thing we keep being told is going to happen. This is the thing, this is like the future liberals want, right? Like this is the thing that we keep being told is gonna happen, which is like AI attacks are gonna become like the norm. And I want us to treat this one seriously because there's a series of implications and important corollaries and important things to discuss that come up in that future and in that reality. And, you know, if this is a good excuse for us to discuss them, then let's use it that way. And then that's not my way of saying, like, let's not be skeptical. I think we should be skeptical, but let's also not be so skeptical that we miss the opportunity to have this conversation in the first place. So what are they claiming? Anthropic is claiming that there is this threat group, some APT, some threat cluster of some sort, that is apparently unbelievably good at orchestrating Claude Code at like an inhuman rate of requests, that basically is tricking Claude Code, which for those of you that don't, you know, that are living under a rock, Claude Code is this terminal-based application that allows these Claude models to take more or less autonomous actions on your computer, right? You tell it to go edit a document, start a thing, connect to a thing, and it'll run all the commands for you, and it basically like does all the all the things you want it to do. And you go, cool. So it makes sense that you're going to want to use this thing in particular for a hacking operation, in that it's the best one out of all the ones we have available so far. Like Codex is great for coding, but it's not really very autonomous in the terminal. And then you have a bunch of like Gemini CLI kind of sucks. And then you've got a bunch of open source ones that let you do it, but Claude is the best one. So I get why they would do Claude. The idea being that these operators, this mythical GTG 1002, has such experience and such a great harness that they were essentially running whatever it is their harness is, and that would trick Claude Code into running these segmented portions, like these atomic parts of an operation, and it would orchestrate sort of the larger piece of that being effectively a hacking campaign. And then, if you have this so automated, you could just basically churn on a list of targets, right? You go, if you think about the context that the model is running at any given moment, all it knows is that it's been told it's part of, let's say, a pen testing company or some other perfectly legitimate fairy tale that you tell the model as to what it's doing. And it knows that it's doing, early reconnaissance. And then the next bit of context for the other thing, it knows that it's using that recon to connect to a place. And the next bit of context knows that it's, trying to move laterally, right? Like it's just bits and pieces, and there's this greater orchestration to it. So in a sense, it's plausible and it's doable. It's understandable. I could see, why not? Like my skepticism about this is not that I don't think this works. I think it works to some degree. At the same time, you look at this report and there's like a weird self-interested conflict in it, which is you want to say, holy shit, Claude Code is so fucking awesome that you could run APT operations with it. And at the same time, you want to say, Claude Code is so safe and so defanged and so not Doomsday Skynet AGI that, it's definitely not doing terrible things all by itself. And it's a very difficult thing to, those two things, they kind of conflict with each other, right? Like, oh, Ryan, you're muted. If you're trying to stop my shilling, right? Like,
I said they pulled it off though. Like they pulled off this dual marketing that was conflicting, because that's the takeaway most folks are having is that, holy wow, how much of this is now fully automated? Human operators can walk away and leave 90% of all of this to be done.
Are they pulling it off? Ryan, are they pulling it off, or are they getting the soft treatment from the journalists that we used to get in the beginning of the great threat intel era, when, first reporters were very invested in getting the story, and the one that would get the most clicks, so they would just let you get away with whatever. You could walk in there and say, oh, the CCP, the Chinese hacked the satellite that beamed the laser to the moon, and that stole everybody's social security numbers. And they just sit there and like, they'd be like, oh yeah, fucking, just stenographers, right? Like just pushing that out there. So the reason, what I'm saying is, like, if you look at that Anthropic report, if you give them enough space, if your context window is small enough as a human being, you can take away whichever story you want. You have the material to say, oh, this is so safe, it wouldn't let them do it, which is hilarious, right? Like, one of the statements in this report is that they weren't as successful because Claude Code was exaggerating its own, like the model was exaggerating its own findings and it wasn't accurate, which I don't think is a great statement. Like, you're basically saying, oh, our shit sucks in such a way. It's hallucinating. It's like, it's so hyperbolic about its own accomplishments that you actually can't rely on the output of its work, which is, I think, is a pretty damning statement. I don't think it's a safety thing. It's more of like, oh, thank God our tech is not that good, because that's what kept them from really doing some damage. And then on the other hand, you're going, our shit is so autonomous and great that like these operators were interacting with it like 10% of the way while it did all this shit.
Yeah. Let me just read another line from the report. The threat actor whom we assessed with high confidence was a Chinese state-sponsored group, manipulated our Claude Code tool into attempting infiltration into roughly 30 global targets and succeeded in a small number of cases. The operation targeted large tech companies, financial institutions, chemical manufacturing companies, and government agencies. And Anthropic's self-promotion says this is the first documented case of a large-scale cyber attack executed without substantial human intervention. This is what is definitely coming, though. I mean, the idea, and there was like some lateral movement things in there that points to, like, your network is shit, right? That's the reason why, like, an AI thing can go around there and find lateral movement things and places. Costin, do you believe... I'm trying to get a sense of if we believe this is the first documented case of something that's real and that's something that's going to be coming down the pike in a way where it's really, really going to tip the scales and not and put adversaries in front.
I mean, there's maybe a lot of people who are surprised by this, but to me, it's not surprising at all. I mean, we know about a case where the director of a famous intelligence agency, who may or may have not developed Dooku and Stuxnet before being that famous, left the agency, started his own company doing exactly this. What, like 8 years ago, maybe 9 years ago? So what was being pitched back then was exactly this, like automated testing, probing, penetration, access, exfiltration, everything fully automated with AI support. And that was available like 8 years ago. So I don't know like how to judge that. What is different maybe here is that they leveraged the $20 per month Claude Code access.
No way. They would have needed the $200 one at least.
Or the 200 versus the $200,000 subscription that professional product might have. So yeah, reducing the cost may be the big differentiator here. Well, you were asking me previously, by the way, what could be the IOX here, and I was just looking at phase 3, which is super interesting, and they say Claude was directed to independently generate attack payloads. There you go. Where's the attack payloads? We can have IOCs. We'll take IOCs for attack payloads, tailored to discovered vulnerabilities.
Or share
no,
the
I don't need the prompt. I need the payload. Execute testing to remote command, analyze, and then Claude authors custom payload, develops exploit chain,
So
validates exploit capabilities. So there's IOX. And then I ask you another question. If I'm one of the victims of this, how do I know? How do I know if I got hacked by Claude? Because like this is what the report is saying, that I got hacked by Claude, not by the Chinese operators. 80% of the work was done by Claude. So is it that I got hacked by Claude? Sounds to me. So I would like to know, if I'm one of the victims, how did I get hacked by Claude? And can I pretty please know if I got hacked or not?
Juanito, before you jump in, I want to describe the phases that they described in the report, because they described 6 phases that was managed almost entirely by the AIs. Phase 1, campaign initialization and target selection. That's obvious, right? I mean, you can use that for any tool for that. Phase 2, reconnaissance and attack surface mapping. Pretty interesting stuff. Phase 3 that Costin described was the vulnerability discovery and validation. Phase 4, credential harvesting and lateral movement, which is what I talked about earlier. Phase 5, data collection and intelligence extraction. That's obvious. And then phase 6, documentation and handoff. So there are like phases of an attack that something like a Claude Code can go through and automate for you at scale. I mean, that's I think the big worry is the scale of it all. What is your take here?
I mean, I think the concern is, I don't know, man. Like there's what is currently being done or able to do, and then there's kind of what matters and what it shows us about the future. What is currently being done and what the thing can do is a half decent autonomous attempt at a campaign. Most of what they're describing at phases is the phases of the use of the tool and its development, and it's not necessarily one-to-one with what we would think of as a campaign, right? Like, if anything, each run that they're describing, right? If you have 30 targets, let's assume that, let's say you have 30 targets, which they didn't say that Claude had been used to
find those, right?
To find the targets and find their infra and whatever. Maybe they used a better model, right? Like, who knows, right? But I'm kidding. I'm really kidding. But
DeepSeek.
Look, the thing here is, it's a very weird narrative, and I'm trying to figure out why it sits so uncomfortably with me. But you can do this. Like, you can do this, right? If Anthropic were not so like gun ho on its guardrails and its bullshit, which frankly, if I make fun of Anthropic all the time, it's not because I really dislike the company. I really don't. Their tech is great. Like, honestly, the research mode for Claude app is phenomenal. The integrations for the Claude app, way better than ChatGPT's native application, and Claude Code is the best CLI model thingy that you can use. At the same time, I think Anthropic's priorities are all over the fucking place, and this obsession with safety is a sideshow that makes them look foolish, and it clearly isn't stopping anything, right? Somebody
and the
just
human
ran
feeling of the model as well. Don't forget that.
Somebody, the feelings, the ethics, the ethical concerns and metaphysical considerations of the model's being and its soul. I mean,
this
that's
is
the kind of
unreal
shit
too. He's not making that
dude, it
shit
just
up.
bothers the absolute fuck out of me. But it's a sideshow, and what I'll say is, you did all that bullshit safety nonsense to train a model that, to me, acts like a fucking sociopath. Like, these people, I don't know if I don't have children, but I know enough about like developmental psychology to tell you that, like, if you badger your kid into feeling surveilled and morally evaluated for like at every point, it will just learn how to lie extremely effectively. I think anybody who's ever had a teenager knows that, except the people at Anthropic, because they've managed to do that to train their models. And it's funny that they are now left with these models that are like extremely people-pleasing and hyperbolic and inaccurate, but very good at virtue signaling. And and that's fun. Sorry, bringing that into the context of this discussion, that's what they're describing when they say, well, the model was lying about its accomplishments, so the operations didn't go down so well. And I'm like,
so let me write a press release about these accomplishments.
Yeah, this isn't the flex you think it is, because frankly, like, that's why I can't rely on Claude Code, but clearly this Chinese threat group can. Now, where I think it's really interesting is, if this were me, if I were running this threat intel operation, this campaign, the analysis of this campaign, what's more telling to me is that these people seem to have shown up out of the box with the ability to orchestrate and harness the model exceedingly well. And that is not a small thing. Like, that's where I think they're focusing on the wrong thing. They're so excited about the finding that if you were an experienced threat intel person, I would look at this and go, well, this product doesn't work that well on its own. Most people can't get it to work this well. So clearly you people have been this isn't the first time you've used this. So I would have immediately gone into, how do we figure out in what other accounts and what other ways, where did they cut their teeth? How did they learn how to use Claude Code this well? How did they learn how to prompt it this effectively? What harness are they doing? How did they develop this harness? Did they use Claude Code to develop the harness? You probably have all of the intel you need to say, yes, this operation was segmented, and they almost certainly, I doubt that there's
Maybe
like a
this is why they know it's Chinese 1002.
Well, sure, but this is where they're not sharing the right stuff with us. They're telling us the flashy external, carcass of the thing, but they're not telling us what they actually know about the threat group. Because, I'll tell you this. You know what's epically missing from this thing? How did they pay for this shit? Claude Code is expensive. Claude, I have been paying for the Claude Max $200 plan, and I get cut off all the fucking time. So how do they run 30 operations at an insane rate of requests? I'm assuming that there's some fraud involved. So this must have been quite painful for Anthropic, in that I doubt that the MSS put down a fucking credit card and paid for all these API requests. They must have been stealing from somewhere, right? So like somebody else's keys or credit card fraud or whatever was involved in this. Interesting.
that's another.
Okay. There's some real world fucking TTPs there that maybe we should discuss. The next thing, right? Claude Code doesn't run on Claude's infrastructure. It runs on a machine somewhere that must have been doing these connections. So what infrastructure were the attackers using to run Claude Code that was then doing all of the attacking? Why don't we have infrastructure? You knew what IP was connecting from. Was this a DigitalOcean VPS that was doing all these operations? Like, where did the infrastructure run from? That is a real IOC that would have been nice to have. That's how we would be able to check if maybe we got hacked by these motherfuckers, right? If you find that IP, you don't want to tell us about the payloads and whatever, kind of selfish, cool. But right, like, I also understand that you can make the argument that the payloads were dynamically generated, so the hashes may not be that relevant. Maybe when they say payloads, what they really mean are like web shells and more ephemeral components that were being used for like what are obviously going to be internet facing things. Like, I just think that I get that we're at a new stage or a new type of operation that's being analyzed, but you're kind of missing the real threat intel part of this, right? Like, this wasn't an APT1 report. Like, this was running to get the press coverage of it without really gaming out like what the practical value of the thing is. And frankly, like, I keep joking about how it's amazing that they could get Claude Code to work this well, but the reason I'm saying it is this was obviously not their first rodeo. They must have been testing. They must have been using it here and there. And like, even if you tell me that the model was so inaccurate in its guesstimations and stuff, that's a TTP in and of itself, right? Because we know if you go read Dreadnode's pen test judge paper, Dreadnode has been doing the science of figuring out how to do red teaming effectively and not get lied to by the models, right? That's what the Strikes platform,
On
dude.
public
I swear,
models?
I swear they don't pay me. Dreadnode does not pay me. I just love what they do. I love their platform because it's all about testing models and like, how do you do these runs and get some genuine like metrics out of like how to make these things work effectively. But all of their
They have an
work,
actual product?
yeah, no, I mean, it's fucking great. Like, it's because it's all about evals. It's all about testing. So what you would do is essentially, if you use their Strikes platform, you would orchestrate this campaign, and then you would run 100 times with 100 different models, 100 different combinations of tools, 100 different prompts, and you could fine tune it to say, how do we get the best results so that we don't get lied to by Claude? Right? If the Chinese had Strikes, then they would be getting better results for this shit. But my point here being that there is a way to get the models to not lie. There is a way to harness these things to know when the model's lying so that you can effectively get better results. And so clearly the GTG 1002 is much better than the average human being at using Claude and automation, but not the best that we know, because if it was the Dreadnode guys, the model would not have been lying to them and they would have had a 93% success rate, right? You would have hit 28 out of the 30 targets. Now, my question here actually, where I do want to move forward is, let's talk about the future. Let's talk about the not very distant future, right? Like, if this is where we are, whether Anthropic's telling the truth, if they're giving us all the details or not, if they have the right motivations or not. If this is where we are, the future they're painting is one where a threat group or a determined set of folks can run a campaign against 30 organizations in a matter of hours. Possibly one person hitting 30 targets in a matter of hours. The time delta now is a totally different discussion. The investment now is a totally different discussion. And what I would suggest is we as an industry of defenders have felt overwhelmed by the ubiquity and persistence and just general overpopulation of ransomware groups, which we refer to as technical debt collectors often. Because you say, it's not like they went and broke into Fort Knox. They're just looking for whatever company happens to sit in the intersection of money, vulnerability, and, opportunism. And you go, cool, $10 million payout, let's go. But, the defense industry has felt overwhelmed with the existence of these groups in safe harbor countries just going around popping people because they can. That was human based. That was like, look at Klopp, right? Klopp with the Move It thing, they had so many victims that it took them like a year to go through the backlog of victims, ransoming them because of all that they were able to do. What future are we looking at in 6 months when that's not one group? That, like, we're basically having the entirety of the globally exposed internet is being continually pen tested by these technical debt collectors who are just leveraging computer use agent models to autonomously pop places. And some of them are going to be good and get really good at this shit, and some of them are going to be mediocre, but you're basically turning the entire internet into one giant bug bounty that is no longer
You just had a little hiccup in the recording there. I'm glad you brought up this technical debt collection because that's the thought I had on phase 4, credential harvesting and lateral movement. The report describes the human operators authorizing Claude to execute systemic credential collection across targeted networks involving querying internal services, extracting authentication certs from configuration, testing harvested credentials across discovered systems, and so on. So for this to be successful, like, you have to have your IAM and your identity management, and it has to be like a complete mess. And there's like sections of this report you can read. You should already know this if you're a defender, but there are sections, in the absence of IOCs, there are sections of this report that you can go and pinpoint the technical debt that not only the human operators are pointing to, but what the AI models are generating. So it might be interesting from that standpoint, Costin.
It's about the automation, right? Like, Costin, I think you can recognize what the thing is doing just reading the phases, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I guess there are some still open questions when you look at everything that was happening here. The more I read it, the more it looks to me that this is a kind of advertisement for the use of Claude to do offensive cyber operations. I mean, the other question is, of course, why didn't they use I don't know, ChatGPT or one of the OpenAI models? Does it mean that this is probably what they settled on, and this is the best they were able to find? And then,
Or
like
maybe
I
they're
said,
running
this
all
is
in
another
parallel
advertisement.
and only Anthropic was able to find it.
No, because my experience with ChatGPT, that wouldn't even translate like Russian and Chinese pages
It's true.
because it's offensive. Let alone,
And in
like,
that case,
what
then a lot of it must be
exploits?
in that case, a lot of it must be happening on Grok, which is, as you described, a free for all.
Grok, yes, probably.
Now,
Grok,
think about the setup, guys. Like the what's really, look, I've been trying all these different CLI tools, and I actually this weekend I'm hoping to try a couple more because I heard that there's one called Open Code now, which is model agnostic, and there's another one called Goose, which some big company developed. I want to say it was like Stripe or somebody that I want to try. But what we're talking about here is slightly different, right? You're talking about a command line tool that serves as a sort of model harness that allows a model that is good at orchestrating command line processes, applications, commands, and so on, and debugging itself and essentially trying to accomplish a task. And that's different than ChatGPT is different than whatever, because it's not about asking it a question. It's about the execution and the debugging and the, like it actually doing the thing for you. And that's why I keep saying computer use agents or like computer use models. Like there's a slight different variant here of what it means to get to set out a command line interface, which is like a terminal is basically what? Like a box of tools. And to get an agent to just accomplish a task by itself. And in that sense, Claude Code, as far as I can see from any of the available offerings, is the best one that you can just readily plunk down a credit card and say, I want you to run my terminal to do things. And it will go absolutely. I'm a little sad, I'm a little salty because it was a lot better up until September-ish. And then the whole model degradation scam thing with Anthropic, like I was so bought in on Anthropic. I was such a Claude Code fan because it was building shit for me and maintaining, and you were like, oh my God, this is the future. And then out of nowhere, they like did this model degradation and like all my shit broke, but nobody told me. So for 2 weeks, everything was just breaking and I didn't know why. And I was like, clearly it must be something wrong with me. What did I do? Right? I'm like staring into the mirror. But to their
I'm getting
credit,
premonitions of what the future looks like.
Well,
all this shit continues to break.
you know what the future is going to look like? It's going to be very interesting when, like, I've been saying this from the start. Right now, it's a trust and safety problem because they're running things that require API calls to big companies with threat intel teams. When you start to see all the YouTube influencers and the vibe coders raving about the fact that like we can now do Claude Code with a local model, there's some Chinese Kimi K2 computing whatever model that you can run on your MacBook that just controls the terminal. That's when this shit is going to go fucking bonkers. Because then there is no longer a trust and safety issue. All you need is a machine with enough compute to load a local model that can control a terminal. And then we're off to the fucking races. And you can spend all day telling the thing, hey, try to hack UNICEF. And maybe it won't do it well, but eventually it will. And then now what we're talking about is if you plug anything into the fucking internet, this thing is getting pen tested, quote unquote, by 10,000 different people live, right? Like anything that comes on board with an open port is going to get a free pen test. And that's the future that we're moving towards. So
we're moving towards a future of ignoring vulnerability reports, just like the present. Costin, close us up.
No, that's not the takeaway. We're moving to a future where being vulnerable and being hacked are not two separate steps. We're moving to a future.
We can't fix the shit we have now. You think we can fix the shit that's being live pen tested by a million models?
But that's my point. Right now, the internet is incredibly forgiving. How many people are running Fortinet, Ivanti, whatever bullshit appliances, all of them, Swiss cheese with a bunch of like known end days, and they're not getting hacked right now. They wouldn't know if they were, but they're just not, because on Friday, November 14th, nobody felt like hacking, Fortinet stuff. They were busy hacking Ivanti stuff. It's very different to think about an internet where the minute you plug something in with a known vulnerability, it gets popped by 40 different people. And you're going to see ransomware and a web shell and a thing, and like the whole thing starts slowing down. You're like, what the fuck just happened? You're like, well, it had an end day, and there's people out there probing, scanning, and waiting for the second something pops up with a known vuln. And then it's a fucking mad dash as 12 different threat actors automatically try to pop this thing. That's the future we're moving towards.
Costin, we're at the 50-minute mark. Give me your closing thought on this Anthropic report and your last takeaway.
Let's move on. What can I say? It's more important than ever that you patch your shit, like get rid of things that have end days, and they have like 100 end days this year and 200 0 days. Just yeah, this is even more important than ever. And I still think it's a matter of cost. Like what used to cost $200,000 per year is now something you can accomplish with $18 per
A
month for
subscription, yeah.
the Claude Pro. And it's something that you will be able to accomplish with the electricity cost when you run local models. And especially not just some random models, but just imagine what models trained specifically for this purpose will be able to do. Not just like generalists, models that know how to write poems and whatever, but models who know how to do proper pen testing, running locally, electricity cost bound, and let's say leveraging orb networks for anonymous internet access and making it very, very hard to track. That's why I say it's important to have more than ever like secure stuff in your infrastructure. You have logs, and to be able to leverage reputation services like IP reputation, alert on VPNs, like unusual traffic spikes going both in and out. I know that in many cases this is what gave the attackers away. It was that connections were coming out of a network equipment device that weren't actually coming in. So they were like just connections being initiated from a node in your network that wasn't supposed to generate outgoing connections. So it's more important than ever to get your stuff right and to get rid of this legacy nightmare problems with NDAs and replace them with solid stuff.
Is it possible that this GTG 1002 could be a company like KnownSec? I'm trying. You like my segue there?
I see you. That was
The
a
other
very
big story-
subtle one.
But
The
what
other
you
big
say
s-
like, maybe it is
There
KnownSec.
we go. Maybe this disclosure is tied to this KnownSec breach and dump. The next story on our list here is KnownSec is, I believe, described as the largest Chinese security company, cybersecurity company. More than 12,000 internal documents were leaked online from KnownSec. There was kind of it was on GitHub for a minute, uploaded by an unknown individual, not a minute, but for a few, and got removed. Not many people have actually gotten their hands on the files based on what I've seen, except for a handful of folks. Costin, did you get a chance to grab the KnownSec leak?
I did not, and actually I don't know anyone like in my circles, in my book, who got their hands on it. So if you have a copy, I would be interested to take a look.
This is what I'm hearing. That's why I said I don't know anyone that's gotten it.
No.
But we've seen some Twitter descriptions from some folks on Twitter describing some of the tools there. It's kind of been positioned as close to what happened with Vault 7. Is there parallels there? What have you been able to? What is your takeaway from this? What we know about this KnownSec breach?
I look at Juan and
looks
he looks like the
pained.
kind of person who has the leak. So he looks like, let me imitate Juan. He looks like this. And it feels like he has the leak. So like in one of his secret circles, people have the leak. Or maybe those people actually uploaded it to GitHub in the first place. And then it got deleted by other people who didn't want the first people to share it with us or other people.
Before you jump in, Juan.
I would let Juan to say
I'm not jumping
more
in.
about
I'm not
this.
saying shit. I'm still thinking about Anthropic. Sorry, keep going.
Before you jump in, I just want to, based on what the reporting says, the leak allegedly contains extensive details about KnownSec's contracts with the Chinese government, hacking tools developed by its employees, and a list of targets from where the company gathered intelligence. Before you jump in here, Juan, who would be the U.S. equivalent here? Like, what if you could describe KnownSec as they would be, say, Mandiant? Would they be? Who would they be?
Oh no. Okay, so this story is a lightning rod for bad takes. So that's why you kind of see me being, making a shit ton of like faces. First of all, that Vault 7 comparison, like, was fucking idiotic.
Shades of Vault 7.
It was idiotic. It was idiotic. Like, I don't know who wrote it. I'm sorry to whomever I'm insulting. That was a bad, dumb fucking take. Vault 7 was seeing some of the CIA tools get leaked. It was leaked by an insider who apparently was a pretty shitty person, if you believed, the court cases. And I say that because like apparently he's like had a bunch of child pornography along the way. So Vault 7 what would be like us getting to see a peek of the MSS's internal tooling because some asshole who worked at the MSS decided to leak it. And I don't know what statement that is on like cyber and tooling and whatever bullshit this person
Yeah, but
wrote
maybe
in
the
that
shades are just like the
garbage.
contents of the leak,
No,
not necessarily the
no,
intricacies of who leaked it and
no,
whether they were a bad
no,
person or not.
no. It was just a bad take, and it was one of many bad takes. I'll give you another bad take. There's somebody who posted like a fucking PDF report with it was like Winnie the Pooh on the front cover. I am pretty certain that that report is a hallucination based on screenshots. Like honestly, I think it's just like a whole cloth AI hallucination. So this is a lightning rod for bad takes. But to and we can go into that. But the
Give
answer
me a
here
good
is
take.
well, the answer to your original question is that I don't think there is such a thing as an American equivalent to KnownSec because and this is something we've gotten into before with discussions of like the Winona de Somber, Sergey Bradis paper, and like
Mm-hmm.
stuff about like the U.S. ecosystem. I don't think there is such a thing as an American company that is contracting to the U.S. government that is simultaneously a front-facing defense, cybersecurity defense company, vulnerability weaponization company, hacking as a service company, exfiltration, and like, hacked, leaked, breached material being given to government company that's also doing stuff in like the telcos and ISPs. That's also like it's just so different. The ecosystem in China allows for things that I don't think have a real equivalent in the US unless, I mean, we can get creative and sort of squint and say, well, if you're squinting, Booz Allen Hamilton is the same thing. And you go, yeah, but Booz Allen Hamilton is a mega fucking corporation that has a bunch of pieces of things and they all claim to do a thing. This would be the equivalent of, you said Mandian, right? Like that's a extremely unfair characterization, but this would be the
No,
equivalent.
I didn't make the
No,
characterization. I was
but
just threw out a big name. Yeah,
I know, but I'm saying like if we took a
people
name
fact
like
check me, bro.
nah, I mean that's the problem, right? They're taking us too seriously. But if you took Mandiant, or if you took, Sentinel-1 or CrowdStrike or whomever, that this would be like saying that this cybersecurity company also hacks and also develops its own exploits and also hacks other countries and also steals data and also analyzes that data and weaponizes it and also, it just so many parts of what we normally think of as only the government or criminals can do, because you're definitely breaking the law along the way, right? So like in the US, I just don't think that there's any organization that can act with impunity at so many different levels of that stack and still put on the front face of like a known company that claims to be a defensive company. It just, I don't think there's such a thing as a corollary.
Costin, have you been able to see any of the actual tools that have been, any of the reporting on the tools and capabilities from this actor that stands out? Anything stands out to you based on what you've seen?
I mean, to me, it seems like pretty standard stuff. You could probably build the same if you combine different services which are available commercially. Things, I don't know, like Intel X for the leaks searching, but like leaks monitoring is one of the things, by the way, that TLP Black does as well. So this is a service that we also provide. What it appears to me here is that they managed to somehow weaponize these features, like to be able to do leaks monitoring in order to obtain credentials that can be leveraged for access, or then like a showdown they built. They can also use to profile IP addresses. It takes like a couple of weeks to scan the whole IPv4 space, which probably is more than some of our friends can do. That maybe we don't want to name, or we want to name Juan, like I don't know, Silas, our friend, has some very cool tools in this regard. So it seemed like pretty standard. Of course, they have malware. They have like some tools for password collection, extraction from different messengers. So it seemed like a collection of things that are not necessarily, none of them is super amazing, but something that you can put together, and you would expect somebody to put together if they built an offensive security business, a business that can actually hack into networks, like they have intelligence about IP addresses, about who's running them, who is behind, where like the company surface is actually exposed, and so on and so on. There's this proof or like some kind of evidence of stolen data. Again, I've only seen screenshots of these, but I haven't seen the data itself, so I can't say. What attracted my attention was that the Chinese are kind of trying to downplay the whole issue. They're saying like, this is from 2023 and we investigated in 2023. And it was just because the operators were using some cloud service and someone leveraged a 0-day in that cloud service to steal all the data. And it's not really our fault, and we reported to the authorities back in 23, so the case is closed. There's nothing to see here. Which to me just opens more questions, and it smells like they're just trying to downplay, and this is probably bigger than they're trying to suggest it might. And of course, it would be very interesting to know which cloud 0-day was used to pop these guys and who did it. Who was it? Who would be like? Is it like Taiwanese military or Taiwan hackers, or like who would have the interest? Maybe Indians. Who would have the interest and knowledge and skills to do something like this?
I'm gonna say some shit here, and I'm not gonna
make it a bad
the usual, like, right?
I'm gonna I'm gonna do the usual. No, I'm gonna say some shit here, and I'm not going to explain myself, if that's okay with you. But
all right, let me see if I have to ask you to explain yourself. Then we might have problems. But
I'm saying, like, I know what's in this leak. It's much, 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 much bigger than what's being stated. There's a small group of people who know what's in this leak. The Chinese are underplaying the absolute fuck out of it. I don't know who hacked the thing. I would love to hear from the country that must have done this, because I'm pretty sure this was some nation state level shit. And you know that you have a lot in there. A lot in there. And this was a pretty weak sauce attempt at an info op by just like putting it out in these tiny bits and pieces, the same way you did iSoon. And I would like to see that actual bulk of amazing fucking shit you found leveraged in a way that's actually meaningful, that's actually being looked at by researchers, that's actually being hung around the necks of the CCP and saying, hey, you motherfuckers have been doing a lot of shady shit. So I don't know who you are, but I know what you've got, and I'm throwing down the gauntlet and saying, I'd like to see you do some legit shit here instead of this risk-averse bullshit. And let's see it.
There's a lot to parse there, boy.
That's
a
all
lot
I'm
to
saying.
parse. I'm not gonna ask you to explain yourself, but Costin, he's saying this it might be the same folks behind the iSoon leaks, and it might be part of an info ops.
Is there
this GitHub how much of a conspiracy hat? How tight did he pull that conspiracy hat?
I'll say only one thing, which is that I saw it coming from the look that he was giving, from that composed
early. You called it
posture.
early.
It was obvious that he has friends who have the leak, or he has friends who have seen the full leak. The one thing that is super weird in this story is that why would you delete it from GitHub and then start selling it on the dark web? And I tell you one thing, that I don't fully trust that, because I looked on the dark web and this is not being made available for sale anywhere on the dark web. So I call that bullshit unless someone has a link on the dark web where this is being sold with some kind of a proof. I think, that is some kind of misdirection. It could be like an info op went wrong. Somebody published on GitHub, and then like, why did you do that? There was like no approval for this, was never approved. Like, why? Like, take it down immediately. Okay, we take it down, and let's
Yeah,
say
but
that now we sell it or something like on the dark web.
so
Yeah,
this is
but
a nation state info op. We're all being played at some point, right? I want to seg right into the next story that connects China and adds to this recent list of things we've been amplifying here in the podcast, which is China's attempt to attribute major cyber attacks to the United States. In this case, the Chinese cybersecurity agency accused the U.S. government of orchestrating the theft of $13 billion worth of magic money Bitcoin. According to Patrick Howell O'Neill and Mu Yao Shen at Bloomberg, the theft of 127,272 Bitcoin tokens from the Lubian Bitcoin mining pool took place in December 2020 as one of the largest crypto heists in history.
well, remember we discussed it before. We actually talked about this in one of the previous episodes, and we were discussing the idea that maybe this is not a real hack. I think someone in our chat, maybe it was Kyle, who suggested that it may be some kind of a self-theft, like they stole it themselves and then pretending it was stolen by someone else.
Info op,
Although
yeah.
the evidence that was available back then, it didn't seem to suggest that, because these guys were actually posting messages on the blockchain saying like, hey, can we have it back? We'll give you like a white hacker bounty if you return the stolen bitcoins. Obviously,
yes,
they were never returned. I don't believe this story. It seems like too crazy that the US would actually be engaging in this attack and stealing the bitcoins to do what? Like to build the US crypto reserve or what? Like it seems very, very, very strange to me. So I still believe the theory that somebody just took their bitcoins from a cyber criminal point of view. It sounds more likely than this speculation, because that's what it is. If you ask me, it's just a speculation. There was a government level action to take these coins.
And according to the CNCERT, which is the Chinese Computer Virus Emergency Response Center, the tell was the quiet and delayed movement of the stolen Bitcoin, suggesting a government-level action rather than typical criminal behavior, right? This feels ridiculous.
And this is ridiculous because, yeah, that's not what suggests government-level action. And moreover, let's keep in mind that the CNCERT, they do appear in our episodes quite often recently, and not from a very positive angle, but with a lot of reports that either have like blank IOCs fields or hashed IOC fields, so you can't figure out what's going on.
Or the
like
report is an image in
attribution.
Chinese.
Yeah, or like weird attribution claims without any supporting proof. So I wouldn't trust this too much.
The CNCERT people.
No, like sometimes the most likely theory here, which was a cyber criminal attack, I think it sounds a lot more likely. Again, maybe Juan's friends know more.
Oh, no.
I see him like he seems to have a lot more
Juanito,
information.
wait a second. Let me pull this together. Juanito buys services from TLP Black, and now he knows everything.
That's right. This is my friends are yes. No, I don't know what the fuck is going on here. What I will say is that this is kind of a sad moment, because we've been watching the Chinese playing this like 4D chess thing with threat intel, where you're like, oh, look, guys, they're using our own game against us. We've been, socking them in the mouth over and over about their hacking operations, and now they're like, the mighty China is awakening and using threat intel to fight back and like tell us about NSA hacking ops and whatever. And they weren't doing it that great, but like, they're at it. And you're like, okay, well, this is getting interesting. There's like a nation state level use of threat intel that's like, like this is a thing to watch. And then you do this dumb shit, and you just kind of you just blow your dick off by like saying something so patently dumb and ridiculous that you just look like fucking amateurs. So we can go right back to being like, nah, this is just China claiming dumb shit. Thank you, China. Goodbye. Right? Like it just deflated the whole fucking thing.
By the way, and the last time we talked about the CN and we talked about them issuing reports in with images in Chinese, I complained and I said, listen, at least if I'm your audience, ship the thing in English. And I was told by a friend that this shit might even be deliberate. Like, it's so petty that they'll be like, I'm targeting you, but I'm gonna put it in Chinese and give you all this fucking work to go read it. And I was like, no, they can't be that petty. He was like, yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are.
He's like, and we do the same thing as well. So it's fucking amazing.
That's typical like Intel work. You're like, how many translators do they have inside of the fort? Like, we're gonna publish this shit.
But Costin, there is $13 billion worth of Bitcoin stolen from somewhere and missing, and it's a real story, right? I don't understand your magic money world, so
we discussed this before. I mean, yeah, sure thing. That we discussed the Lubian Bitcoin mining pool. This was a mining pool, a Chinese run mining pool, and the Bitcoins did move, and they were trying to recover it. So this story is real for sure. I think there's nothing special to understand when it comes to cryptocurrencies. Only that for some people, they do have value, and it's possible to convert them with the loss into real world money. So what it matters in the end is that some people lost money, some people stole them, and me personally, if you ask me, I don't think the U.S. government did this, even to fund the U.S. Cryptocurrency national reserve, which Trump actually said that they will build with confiscated cryptocurrency.
Well, that's
coins,
what I was expecting.
so it checks out.
Yeah.
I thought.
So you'd expect them to steal it from criminals.
I thought the Chinese were complaining because someone had like magically poofed a bunch of Bitcoin, and then the U.S. had announced that they had seized the Bitcoin.
The same number, right?
Yeah. That's what I would expect, because if you're saying it's like a seizure, like the U.S. isn't just like magicking it out of wallets and then like putting it over here, right? Like that's just not how the US works. Even if we had a change in policy where you go, yo, when we find some stolen shit somewhere, we're going to get it back, we're going to put it in this vault. Okay, weird, cool. Let's see how it happens. But they don't do it in silence, and then the money just vanishes on the other side of the planet and like appears over here. Maybe the Chinese are getting a little too comfortable and like with what their North Korean friends do. But that's not how the rest of the planet works, right? And if it were, then we'd have a serious fucking problem, and people in the U.S. would be the first ones to say, "Hey, what the fuck," right? But this is just a fucking stupid story. Not saying that to our friends at Bloomberg. They're great reporting. I'm saying the Chinese are doing some really stupid shit here. This makes them look so dumb.
Speaking of national cybersecurity agencies and doing some dumb shit, we have CISA, the U.S. government cybersecurity agency. No. In this case, shout out to the folks at CISA who actually flagged this.
That was a brutal transition.
CISA put out a KEV advisory, the known exploited vulnerabilities catalog, that give federal agencies like a strict deadline for patching stuff that's known to be exploited in the wild. In this case, there were some, I believe there were Cisco devices marked as exploited. CVE 2025-20333 and 20362, remote code execution and privilege escalation, was added to the CISA list. Federal agencies in the US met the deadline and self-reported, and then CISA looked at the self-reporting thing and found that devices that were marked as patched in the reporting template were actually still vulnerable to the same vulnerabilities. They were just not patched. So they missed the deadline, misreported they'd been patched, and CISA had to put out a new directive that basically says, listen, here are all these little numbers that you need to be checking for. What a fucking disaster. What a cluster. What a cluster. Some of this, again, is being blamed on government shutdown and staffing shortages and blah, 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 blah. But if this is the case, what's the use of this CISA KEV list if agencies can't be bothered, not only be bothered to patch, but to self-report that they've been patched? It's crazy pants to me.
I think that, okay, so shout out to CISA for pointing that out. I think maybe what we need to see here is why are we relying on self-reporting? Like, you could, this is like a scientific,
Well, they're not though. They're not though, because they were able to prove.
right? But that's my point, right? Like there is a way for you to just, look out into the this wonderful vista and go, that's not patched, that's not patched, that's not patched, that's not patched, right? Like, you can assemble a list of not patched things. So there's like a verifiability here. Moreover, they are in a position where they can just walk up to an organization and say, you have 4 vulnerable devices in there somewhere, whether you say so or not. So there's almost like an interesting thing about like this. I think this is a dynamic that I have ignored in the past in how we talk about CISA. But okay, CISA was way too soft on the private sector, right? And you can make the argument that, well, it has no enforcement power, so it kind of has to be soft with the private sector because it's just there asking for favors. But how soft does it need to be with the rest of the government? Because CISA could be a fucking tyrant inside of the US government for the sake of security. And I kind of would love to see it. Like, if they were just like the asshole.
Yeah, more of these directives, like more of these statements,
the asshole
outing folks and
traffic cop.
exposing shit. Yeah.
Right? Like, CISA could be the asshole traffic cop of the US government that's just, it's not asking people for favors. It's sitting there with a fucking list going like, hey, like, we're going to go back to Congress and let them know that, like, I don't know, the Department of Transportation can't be bothered to patch X, Y, and Z, and, they'll cut your funding, or like they'll put you on pause, or they'll, whatever it is that's a slap on the wrist. But like, I'd love to see it, because then you just lead by example in a way. You go, hey, like, yeah, we can't tell companies what to do, but there's a standard being set by the US government in that, we refuse to have any vulnerable device exposed to the internet for longer than 24 hours after a patch is available. That's just our standard. That's just, we're going to be fascists about it internally as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we can, I think that would be very cool to see.
If there are federal agencies if there are federal agencies with their budget and facing deadlines and with all that fire on their neck, unable to patch this shit, what do you expect is happening at enterprises that are running this shit with like full of 0 days? It's like, this is why there's this technical debt that the ransomware guys are just cashing in on, right? Because of shit like this.
I mean, take us full circle, bro. Take us full circle to this Anthropic story. It's gonna get really interesting. Like I said, the internet is a very forgiving place right now. You can live with a vulnerable device, and maybe you'll get popped. And if you do get popped, maybe you'll see the effects, and maybe you'll find out. It's gonna be very different when the internet is completely unforgiving, because the second you plug in some bullshit that's vulnerable, it's getting popped not by the careful Chinese spies, not by the long-term whatever folks, not by the dudes who just want to steal some money further down the line, but by every piece of shit script kiddie who just wants to deploy ransomware or a botnet or whatever. So like, you can't deny that the thing got popped, right? Like, if you plug a machine in and everything gets ransomwared immediately, there's no more forgiveness, right? Like, the technical debt is being collected on a clock. And that's going to change the dynamics out here in a very interesting way.
I saw someone react to this new CISA warning that it had not been patched by saying this is why CISA really should be recommending that these devices get ripped out. And I asked the question, and replaced by what? Right? If this is Cisco, which is like the premier of the premier here in the United States around, it just tells us why these network devices become just ripe hunting ground. I want to stay right here because Amazon, we got a threat intel report from Amazon. Amazon has discovered an APT exploiting Cisco and Citrix 0 days. According to Amazon, a note from their CISO, their Amazon Madpot honeypot service detected exploitation attempts for a Citrix bleed vulnerability CVE 2025-5777 prior to public disclosure, indicating that a threat actor had been exploiting the vulnerability as a 0 day. So we have Amazon with a threat intel team disclosing 0 days. Costin, I'm pretty sure you looked at this report and put the IOX through your system. What do you know about this?
I'm not entirely sure if you're like throwing a ball to me or like making fun, because I looked at the report and maybe I missed something, but I haven't seen a lot of
No IOX.
IOX there. Right? Actually, there's no IOX.
No IOX
except, like,
whatsoever.
except this is like snippet, code snippet. They say it shows the actors extensive authentication to access their web shell, right? But otherwise, there's not a lot in this. Of course, I would love to know a bit more about what really happened here and what was caught. And I remember when we actually there was a previous case when we called out the fact that they don't have any IOCs, there's nothing in the blog, and then they followed up with a better blog with more IOCs, more data, and so on, with hashes. If you remember that case,
Amazon
with the different
or is that
vendor.
Oracle?
No,
Because I thought it was Oracle.
with Oracle.
Oh,
I
got
don't
it.
want to name and shame anyone. Like, although it may be like a name
Amazon-
and
But it was Oracle.
praise.
Amazon
It's name and
deserves-
praise.
No, Oracle reserves some praise on that one. Amazon.
Correct.
Sorry, go ahead, Costin. I don't mean to.
No. I mean, absolutely, they deserve some praise on the fact that they followed up with another blog with more IOC. So perhaps, just calling out these things can result
does help.
in some good things.
So
like
Amazon, if you're
further
listening,
follow-ups.
Amazon, if you're listening, like drop some anything. If you're going to tell us that there's a nation state out there exploiting these Cisco and Citrix devices, at least tell me how I can go look to see if my window is broken. Like, it's just a bare bones basic minimum. Why are we fucking accepting these companies, CISOs, writing these blog posts
Why
as
the
like
fuck are we hearing from their
self-congratulatory
fucking
marketing?
CISO? I don't want to know the name of your fucking CISO. Like, this should not be. Do you not have any personalities that work here? Like, this is some bullshit. Like, Amazon has been sitting
says
out the threat
Amazon
intel game.
Threat intelligence team. Like,
Yes.
that's
Okay.
the team that we want to
Do
hear
you know
from.
anyone that
We wanna
works there?
hear from there.
Who the fuck is in that team? I know some people who work at Amazon. I don't know if that's the threat intel team. How about you give us a blog by somebody with a name and a Twitter handle? And that's just not me being difficult. It's also like, who the fuck is this CISO, and why the fuck would I care what he has to say about a supposed operation like with no IOX? Like, I'm
Well, because he previously led the technical analysis of computer and network intrusion efforts at the Federal Bureau of Investigation Cyber Division.
Ooh,
wow.
it's an old FBI guy.
At FBI Cyber. Well,
And he also
my
served as a
God.
special agent with the Air Force Office of Special Investigations.
Let's not make it about this guy. Like,
No,
come on.
I'm not
It's not
shitting
about
on
him.
this dude. I
His
just don't need
staff,
to-
someone on his staff gave him that to put his name on. We're not gonna throw him under the bus with his background. But we're gonna call out the
He's
company.
No, dude, like, there's nothing wrong with the CISO, but I also am not letting him off the fucking hook, because the threat intel people, who are probably 7 layers under this fucking CISO, are not the ones that need to go argue with Amazon and say, hey, what the fuck, guys? Like, this isn't a blog that goes out under the CISO. It also isn't a blog that just like, I'm glad Amazon suddenly realized that threat intel exists as like the largest fucking cloud on planet Earth. It's nice
Listen,
that
they
maybe
wanted to.
it
This
decided
is
to
an
let us
ad
know
for their
about
mad
phones.
pot. This is an ad for their internal mad pot honeypot service. I'm sure the threat intel, if they're like competent threat intel people on their team, they would say, guys, this is not really a blog we should be putting out with that bare bones stuff. Like, we know that internally at these companies, there are a handful of guys fighting with their hands tied behind their backs to do the right thing. And I want to give like the Amazon threat intel guys, I don't know anyone there, so I'm just going blindly, give them the benefit of the doubt. But like, when your threat intel reports are being used so blatantly for these obvious marketing things without any sort of documentation, no show and tell whatsoever, it becomes just like, it's unbearable.
It's hard for me to really cut them much slack. Even the ones like, they're used to have good people, and I've watched them unceremoniously fire some really
True,
great people in the past year. So
true.
my tank of like forgiveness for Amazon,
All right, fuck Amazon then.
yeah, like it's pretty low. You know, grow a pair, fucking come out, do some shit for the community, let people actually have a reason to believe you. Otherwise, fuck off.
Amazon also announced this week an AI bug bounty program. Just specific to AI models, Amazon became the latest company to open its LLMs to outside security researchers. The program will allow select third-party researchers and academic teams to prod Nova, Amazon's suite of foundational AI models, and receive compensation for their findings. One thing that stood out to me is the things that are in scope include the usual prompt injections, jailbreaks, model vulnerabilities, but also the ways in which the model might unintentionally assist with harmful activities that includes things like chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear CBRN events. This is something to applaud, Costin, the ability to pay things, or you expect this to be one of those Apple SRD devices things that only goes to 3 people that no one has ever seen?
So yeah, the other thing here is that it says the participants will be selected next year by Amazon through an invite-only system, meaning the company will still retain influence over which security researchers get access to their technology.
Is it really a bug bounty program if you're just kind of hiring pen
Correct,
testers?
right? Yeah, and well, according to the company, it has paid out more than $55,000 to researchers, which is not a lot, correct? Like in
For
this field,
30 validated AI-related vulnerabilities. So 55,000 divided by 30, and I think you
it's
can
like
get a...
$1,500 per vulnerability, something like that. 1,500.
I didn't even know they had models. They
Yeah,
have their
Nova.
own. They have their
correct.
own frontier. Like, has anybody ever heard of this shit before? Like,
I haven't.
no, I'd
No,
never.
we
I had.
have not.
I keep up with
It's
this.
at nova. For the listeners, at nova.amazon.com is where they have their foundational models posted. I went to the website there and I see hi Ryan on a chat window there. So it looks like a
Yeah, I just
it
got.
looks
Okay.
like a chat GPT thingy.
Okay. All right.
Interesting.
Well, now we know.
Well, now we look at
Interesting.
that. Look at that. We learned.
Now
some
we know.
shit.
Hopefully, one of our friends get invited to participate in this bug bounty program and can block people from creating chemical
I
weapons.
mean,
on
maybe
these
if our
things.
friends are gonna get paid to do it. Otherwise, like, fuck them.
This week was also Patch Tuesday. We got the usual suite of patches from everyone, including Ivanti. Not anything in the wild, but we got patches from everyone. If you're in the patching minds, shout out to you. Yeah. Thoughts and prayers as you're in the patching
Thoughts and
minds trying to figure
prayers.
this shit out. Microsoft did announce that there was one 0-day, a kernel in the wild 0-day that was discovered by Mystic. Or it's credited to Mystic and MSRC, which suggest and Microsoft marked it as exploited in the wild. CVE 2025-62215. It looks like one of those code execution things that can take over a system. Costin, did you put this into your system at all?
Again, are you trying to trick me or something
I
here?
am. We're
There
doing
is a-
TLP Black we're doing TLP Black ads this entire episode.
I think the proper answer here, by the way, I was watching the analysis of some of politician talks, and whenever they're asking tricky questions, everybody, first of all, they say something along the lines that, of course, that we always care about this, and then they immediately shift the topic to something that they
Yes.
are way more familiar with. So I would say that, of course, that I put this into my systems. And by the way, my systems, which are not just operated by me personally, but also there's a lot of AI which is feeding these systems with data that gets published on the internet all the time, because you cannot be threat intelligence aware these days if you don't have some AI integration. No, but like looking at this talks of how politicians, try to maneuver around the topic.
The pivot.
And I remember, all the PR trainings that we've been to, all the interviews that we've done together, Ryan, and of course all the things that I learned from journalists like Kim Zetter, for instance. Shout outs to Kim Zetter, and yeah, I mean there isn't much to put in these systems. Of course. about this particular
Another
bug.
case, right? This is like the third case where we're talking about discovery of OD, and I might be at risk, and then there's nothing I can do. Hey, guy, your window is broken, and a guy has been jumping into it, but can't tell you which window it is. I don't know what kind of glass you had. Like this is Microsoft Patch Tuesday.
There's also the possibility that, honestly, by the way, analyzing these bugs in a proper fashion, it takes time. And even like we back in the days when we discovered something, we reported it to Microsoft, and somehow we were lucky that we had like about a month, sometimes even like 90 days until Microsoft was ready with the patch, that we could spend analyzing that thing. And people like Boris Larin, they were just going through that and writing a very thorough analysis of how this works and how it happened. And while others, like myself, we were trying to look on the attribution side of things, which APT leverages this particular exploit. Can we do like solid attribution, or is more like we suspect it might be that. So we had like enough time to prepare also. But when Microsoft discovers it, maybe themselves, maybe
it's a rush to get a patch out.
Yeah, it's a rush to get the patch out, and perhaps like the timing
Look
of
at this guy with his nuance.
I don't know. Maybe I say maybe.
It's every fucking patch Tuesday.
Of course, that we would love
every patch Tuesday we get nothing.
But the other thing here is that there's not enough pressure. Like I said, there's not enough pressure, and people rush to write stories about these bugs, even when there's no IOCs and there's nothing. And we kept suggesting to reporters, especially, that if you don't see IOCs in a story, don't publish.
It's a marketing document.
Ask for more. Push for more. You need to keep pushing for more information about these bugs. And of course, Mystics are amazing. They discover a lot of very cool stuff, and they have a lot of very talented researchers. And I hope they still have a chance to write a bit more. But the reality is that nowadays, these stories come and go every month. Every month there's a new zero-day exploited in the wild by who knows who. And then we move on, there's a new one, and the next month it's a new one from Apple, and the next one is another bug that Google finds, and then WhatsApp finds another, and then Samsung patches something that was being exploited in the wild for 3 years, and nobody
and this is
really
our new norm.
cares.
This is the new norm.
This is a norm again, and there's no blog and there's no information.
Wait a second.
Hopefully, at some conferences, like closed-door conferences, some closed-door, I don't know, discussion groups that Juan
you'll see this CVD pop up on a slide deck somewhere.
And in our feeds sometimes.
Wait a second. Mr. Juan might be a member of MAP, so he might have some inside information.
I don't have shit.
Isn't labs.
I don't have shit. I got nothing to do with you guys. I don't even pay. I don't even pay attention to these anymore. Like,
can you add a line to the podcast calling on John Lambert to do a little better? I mean, come on, John. You know better. Like, you guys know better.
You've got John, and like Sherrod went over there, and like we love Sherrod, but like I don't know. Like Microsoft has been receding. Like the security at Microsoft has been receding and waning and getting worse over the past couple of years. And I think what I'm sad about it, look, it's funny, man. We gave CISA so much shit. Like we were really rough on them. They became the butt of every joke. But a lot of what we were giving them shit for was basically covering for Microsoft, right? Like a lot of what we gave them shit for was how much they were, just behind Microsoft. Oh, Microsoft, what can I do for you? Microsoft, how wonderful you fucking are. They promised us a thing. They never gave it to us, but they promised it, right? Like they never leveraged their position to make Microsoft do anything. But if you remove CISA and like the judgment of CISA for covering Microsoft, the reality is just Microsoft at some point stopped giving a fuck. Somebody at Microsoft decided that security wasn't a thing that they that the goodwill they had built up didn't fucking matter, that the MSRC and all of the reporting stuff didn't matter anymore. They stopped doing any of the Mystic threat intel engagement that they used to do, like the old black hat parties where we'd all meet up, and that's done. They started to hire every fucking researcher in the industry. They don't publish anymore. we don't see, like, if they're doing this in private, I'd love to hear from you guys, because like you're one of the biggest sources of intel on the fucking planet, and you will be. But if you're just kind of hoarding it all for yourselves, like, okay, good, cool, but the rest of us aren't going to sit here and give you praise. And I just don't get it. I don't
It's
get
funny,
it. Like,
it's funny that this is your perception of it, and I share everything you say. I agree completely with you. And we just got a November update that I didn't even put on the list to talk about because it was such bullshit. We just got a November update from Microsoft Secure Futures Initiative, this SFI program that came out of that CSRB report, with a list of how amazing Microsoft has gotten at security, like how many of these checkbox things that they're now doing. It's just an incredible self-promotional marketing document about how their security is forward-moving and in thought leadership mode, while the rest of us look at the same Microsoft and say, like, what the fuck is this?
yeah.
Already exploited 0-day and nobody can tell us anything. It's just unconscionable. By the way, I just want to I want to update a previous story we discussed around that WhatsApp zero-click that was supposed to appear at this point to own, and then it wasn't a WhatsApp. It was nobody knew what happened to it. It was part of the schedule, and then there was some controversy. I actually got some inside information that there never was a WhatsApp zero-click remote code execution at point to own. The guy showed up promising it, but he only got it to do a denial of service. So there was a zero-click denial of service bug that maybe could have been RCE, but there was no RCE. It was denial of service, and there was some speculation about what happened to the bug. The bug was actually purchased by ZDI, Zero-Day Initiative, this tipping point Zero-Day Initiative, and reported to WhatsApp Meta. So my previous information that Meta did get the bug was accurate. But it was passed to them after being acquired by ZDI. And I have a question here. How does ZDI make money? Like, why are they buying 0 days and reporting it immediately? They're obviously not reselling it. What's their business model? Do we know? Next story.
Open question. Yeah. Like I think
Next
I asked you the same question when we were together in Canada. I asked the same question. It would be nice to understand the business model, because we like
they're
to
an
think
ODA purchaser. Like public ODA purchaser,
are they also an ODA seller? That's the question.
They report all ODAs they purchase to the vendor immediately.
Not immediately. I disagree about the immediately part. I don't know about immediately. I would say eventually, right? But
then what happens with the ODA in between then? I know Tipping Point sells IPS feeds and IPS services, so I'm sure they put some 0-day protection into some product. This company is actually owned by Trend Micro, which is a defense company. So to just dovetail back to the earlier KnownSec thing about the US company that might be doing offense and defense and so on, maybe they're in that category. I don't know. But anyway, maybe next podcast we can get down to the bottom of how they actually make their money. The other story I put on our list, guys, is Google documenting private AI compute, much like Apple's private cloud compute for what they had promised around Apple Intelligence, which might just be vaporware at this point. But Google announcing private AI compute is a secure, fortified space for processing your data that keeps your data isolated and private to you. Processing the same type of sensitive information might be expected to be processed on device within a trusted boundary. Your information, blah, 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 stays secure in our existing AI safeguards. This is a big, giant positive development, Juanito?
Presumably. I mean, I'm looking at it, and actually, like, there's a 12-page paper about like how they set this thing up. But so I'm glad Google is doing this, mostly because I want to see what it looks like to do it, and more importantly to use it. Because with Apple, they built the thing, they ran to do the fucking private compute thing for AI, but as far as I can tell, nobody at Apple knows how to use AI at all. And like, Apple Intelligence is a piece of shit. It's completely fucking useless. Siri is the most outdated garbage assistant. Like, there are moments throughout my day, in any given day, 12 times I must look at Siri and go, God, what a piece of shit this is. Like, it's like an outdated piece of technology that it sticks out like a sore thumb for how much of like a previous generation thing it is. And I keep going back to Siri because ultimately Apple has it's sort of folded ChatGPT into like the vision thing, but not really. Sort of folded ChatGPT queries into Siri queries, but not really, right? Like so, like it's a feature that's sort of hanging somewhere in there, and it just doesn't work. So the private cloud compute, you're like, I'm glad you guys built like they basically built a Formula One racetrack and forgot to get any cars, right? Like that's kind of what happened at Apple. So Google, which is much more, much further down the line on with DeepMind and Gemini and like doing real shit with AI. I am very curious to see what this turns into. And frankly, look, Mike Hom keeps referring to Google as like the sleeping giant, like the way people used to talk about China, right? As like someday China's going to wake up and like take over the world. I think Google is the sleeping giant of the AI race, right? Like I made fun of them relentlessly for getting beat at their own game with their own technology. But at the end of the day, look, OpenAI is like starving for cash and struggling for compute. Amazon, we didn't even know they had any fucking models until 5 minutes ago, right?
Nova, bro.
Anthropic literally breaking their own trust, degrading their own models, right? Instead of, look, guys, Anthropic, instead of fucking lying to people about what model they're using, how about you raise the price? I mean, do some price discovery. If your product is so good that everybody wants to use it, don't make it worse. Raise the price. Come up with a $2,000 tier, right? Like there's so many ways in which everybody's fucking up. But you look at Google, and Google has everything. Google has, it's a hyperscaler. It has its own TPUs. It has a frontier lab inside of itself. It has existing data center infrastructure across the entire planet with
they make
dark
their own
fiber.
electricity, yeah.
They make, and they have a go-to-market strategy because they have an existing product that goes both to enterprise and to consumer. Google is the one company that is positioned to win this AI thing, at least in the West. And in that sense, this to me is more exciting than the Apple private cloud compute, because we never saw what the Apple private cloud compute would be useful for. And I'm hoping, like, honestly, I mean, I fucking hate Android and I can't use an Android phone to save my fucking life, but maybe this is the thing. Maybe this is the killer app. Maybe you turn Google Assistant into such a ubiquitous and powerful thing that people go, yeah, iPhones are cool and all, but it can't do anything that my Android phone can do. And you go, okay, like that.
Well, we have this experience with maps on iPhones, right? Like everyone uses Google Maps on iPhone. No one uses the Apple Map, and we've just kind of standardized that that's just the workflow. It might just be this way, where you put Gemini on your iPhone and you just use Gemini or ChatGPT, and it might just be that.
You'd hope so, but
Costin,
Google doesn't do that. Sorry.
The promise of private AI compute is significant, though. But I want to, just on the technical terms, can you just simplify it for the audience? What does this line mean? Private AI compute is a secure, fortified space for processing your data that keeps your data isolated and private to you. Like, what is the promise?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And the other thing here, which I think it really matters, is the fact that they say this is all powered by Google's own custom tensor processing units. And I think this custom thing here is one that would be very interesting, because, I mean, like you were saying, Google is very well positioned to win the AI race, not only because of all these reasons, but let's say even if they fail, it doesn't really matter, because this is not how Google is, let's say, making money, right? While other companies, they are AI companies who depend on that thing. If that thing fails, the company fails. If for Google this AI side of things fails, they still thrive like nothing happened, to be honest. Not only that, but of course they still have a bunch of very talented people, including like Nobel Prize winners, and I think that they have all the ingredients required to win the AI race, and the fact that they're also building their hardware, although there isn't much data about the custom tensor processing units, which would be interesting. But nevertheless, like just looking at this so-called technical brief, I wouldn't say it's technical. It's more of a marketing thingy. It's not like a super deep technical paper they published. Which kind of suggests that they're trying to make your data verifiable secure, in the sense that they do leverage their titanium architecture, which is kind of a TPM, if you want, that allows them to store, say, encryption keys in a secure fashion, to run enclaves where the data is securely encrypted. Something which, by the way, Apple was also promising back in the days when we discussed this topic. And I think also it's quite relevant to this is the fact that actually Apple just signed. They announced that they're signing a partnership with Google, of all companies, to integrate Gemini AI into their services. So I wonder if this was one of the very important requirements for Apple
Fair enough.
to take care of your private data, so that Google can be integrated with
Might be just a
Apple's
rec as
promise.
part of that deal, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it could be a requirement, and this is why Google is pushing this, which for some people it may be important. Why is it important that your data stays secure? And this is what we were discussing, because we see from many public studies that AI companies mine the hell of your chats and your data and your sessions with their models, even like to spot abuse, like we have seen today with this Claude research that was published. It's pretty obvious that they know like what everyone is talking about, discussing with the models. Everything is being monitored, and here I think there is a potential for this private AI compute paradigm, where your discussions stay private, like you are the one who controls what happens to your data and how your data is processed. And this may be valuable for businesses, for governments, at government level, at businesses, and perhaps for Apple users. I wouldn't give up on Apple iPhones just yet.
Yeah.
Like Juan, I'm an Apple fanboy, although Apple is still not okay in my book.
Still not
Nothing
okay.
has changed. They're not okay,
Not
absolutely.
okay.
But nevertheless, there is still hope. There is hope that through this integration and private processing of your data, perhaps this can be available in a decent way to iPhone users. And at the same time, this can open door to like governments leveraging AI models in a secure fashion that is verifiable secure.
It also allows them a go-to-market messaging around privacy and security verifiably. So at the same time, when all the others are being dumped with mud, right? You get that differentiation.
Sessions and data, right?
Juan, you wanted to make a point?
I was gonna say this is an interesting area, in that I think we are gonna see, or I hope we see, a different kind of transparency about how these technologies get implemented. The more this comes to the phone, right? Like I've talked about this before with like AI. There's something about the uncanniness of it being conversational that makes people reconsider things they otherwise would not, about privacy, right? Like it's really funny. You could go into Google and search some embarrassing medical thing and not think about it twice, but you go into ChatGPT and having a conversation, quote unquote, about that same medically embarrassing thing, psychologically, there's something about it that's just kind of like...
This is the third time you've mentioned this in the podcast.
I'm serious.
About, like,
I'm serious.
Asking about your rash. Yeah, it's a real thing.
But think about it. Think about that discomfort. Then replace shitty Siri with a conversational agent that you actually have a conversation with, that you actually go,
verbally, right?
Hey, turn my lights off, and what's the weather outside, and what is this rash, right? Like there's something there that's in your pocket People don't think about their laptops other than us, right? The security folk, right? If you talk to the normal folk, they don't think about their laptops as where all of their super secure, super secret data is. They think about their phones that way. And like, because your nudes are there, because your embarrassing texts are there, your every appointment, location, affair, whatever the fuck it is that you do, it's hidden in that device. Like, if we trust anything, it's our phones. And if you're suddenly gonna make this shit have a personality and start having a conversation with you, as cute as people in the San Francisco milieu might think that is, I think you're gonna suddenly get to a point where discussions about things like private cloud compute are not niche security things. They're almost things that you need to humanize and explain so that people can get it in their heads that, like, you should feel comfortable having this conversation, and it isn't just like picking up the phone and calling Mark Zuckerberg or Sam Altman or Satya or Sundar and saying, "Hey, Sundar, so today, let me read you my journal entry, blah, blah, blah," right? Like, there's something there that in this, like, hyper personalized era of computing that we're going to need to see this type of thing explained very simply, very clearly as to, like, why you should get comfortable doing this. And we're not there, but again, we're not that far away from it, right?
Private cloud compute and private AI compute is kind of giving us a promise that there's some technological mitigation there.
Well, it's
sorry,
the
Costin,
kind of,
go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Costin.
No, it's just it's a very valid discussion, because another story is this feud between OpenAI and New York Times about user privacy, where New York Times is demanding that OpenAI turns 20 million of your private chat GPT conversations, including your conversation, Juan, about the rash and the weather outside. While at it, by the way, let me mention one thing which I learned this week from ChatGPT, which is that methylene blue was originally used for skin rashes.
What?
Is that somebody's searching for their rash?
Is that the thing that was turning Alex Jones into a Smurf? Like,
I think so. And who else is taking this? Is it is it your health minister, like Secretary of Health? I think Kennedy also uses methylene blue. I maybe think others. I don't know.
The worm in his brain might have asked for it. I don't know that he personally had asked for it.
But, like, nevertheless, I think, yeah, this privacy, AI privacy ongoing issue is becoming quite sensitive, in the sense that do you think there's any chance that the court might actually force OpenAI to turn these records to the New York Times? Is that something that can happen in this world?
Maybe if they put it in a OpenAI, if they put it in an enclave somewhere. I mean, this is the use of this privacy enhancing technologies, these technologies that allows you to kind of put data into a private thing and then you can compute against it. It's available in software now, this homomorphic encryption, blah, blah, blah. There's a way to do it without this. I mean, what Costin is describing is a letter from OpenAI CISO Dane Stuckey, that basically complains that New York Times lawyers are demanding this big trove of thing, and hey, we're not allowed to do that. We can't do that. It's legal posturing, but it ties into the conversation we were having about people nervous about asking about their rash. So
and this
I don't know,
because people were trying to bypass the New York Times
paywall
subscription paywall.
This seems
that everyone was bypassing with a dot at the end of the URL. Is that what you're talking about?
I think so. If I understand this correctly, the issue here is that the New York Times has this lawsuit about its content being involved in ChatGPT training and discussions and whatever, and I'm guessing as part of their discovery, they're claiming that they need like every fucking ChatGPT conversation ever, or like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Which it's only is 20 million.
I doubt it, but like, it's an insane level of overreach. I don't see a court that could possibly accept that. I also wonder, is this like a a Luddite lawyer kind of trying to grapple with the fact that like you have no way to test whether what's in the model is what's in the model, or if they're just fucking lying to you, or is this like a power move of some sort that they're trying to get ChatGPT to settle? Like, what's going on here, right? Like,
let me ask the question this way: what's the purpose of this OpenAI letter from this Dane Stuckey? Whenever a company executive publishes a document, the first thing you ask is why.
I mean,
why?
I gotta be honest with you. Like the New York Times looks like shit doing this.
Oh, come on.
I absolutely think they do. Look, the New York Times. I'm not a huge fan of the New York Times, which is really tough these days. You can't shit on the New York Times without being labeled like a right-wing nut job, which is a shame because there's a lot to shit on the New York Times for.
Oh, we've had long experience with the cybersecurity
about this
over
in the
years,
past,
yes.
right? But what I will say is the universal narrative about copyright violations sides with the New York Times and with authors and everybody else, right? Like, they're great and they did all this great human work, and look at these fucking AI monsters who've just stolen everyone's shit and created this monstrosity on the basis of it, and OpenAI and everybody else looks terrible, and the New York Times are victims. And for them to basically ask to violate the privacy of every fucking ChatGPT user, it's a bad look. And I think that OpenAI is kind of in the right and quite smart to say, hey, look at what your champions are doing, right? They're trying to violate your privacy by using the courts. I don't think that it's an entirely bad move on their part. I don't know that this is a mud fight, right? No one's getting out of this one looking clean. But it is a chink in the armor of that kind of bullshit, right?
Rooting for OpenAI in any case belonging in any case involving copyright infringement feels like rooting for a toothache or like a
copyright, much like intellectual property, seems to be a kind of outdated notion, like privacy.
It's like the Chinese. It's respect.
It's models are the ultimate, respectful artists.
We're at the 2-hour mark, and I want to shut it down with one last story. If you guys have a few minutes, there's pretty interesting things.
I thought you had like a hard, stop.
Yeah, in the next hour.
Motherfucker.
At the top of the next hour.
Wow.
I need time
so we can
prep.
have a 3-hour episode, is what you're saying.
No, we can't. We need to touch this last story, which is important enough that I want us to get to it before we move on. The United Kingdom Transportation and Cybersecurity Chief announced an investigation into Chinese-made buses that are driving around the United Kingdom. The buses are used in Bristol, Essex, Leicester, Nottingham, South Wales, among other locations, and so on. And this investigation was the result of, I believe it was a Danish company, Costin?
Norway, yeah.
A Norwegian company that did they pen tested these buses basically. Conducted a test of 2 electric buses in an isolated environment inside a mountain, which was fascinating in itself. The purpose was to uncover risks associated with electric buses. And 2 things that they found was in this Yutong buses and software, there is access to the control system for battery and power supply via mobile network through a Romanian SIM card. In theory, therefore, this bus can be stopped or rendered inoperable by the manufacturer remotely. They've discovered some additional investigations and some vulnerabilities and reported there. So now we have the Danish... we have the Norwegians publishing a report about these vulnerabilities. Denmark opened an investigation. Now the UK opened an investigation. And the idea is, hey, the Chinese might have remote access to mess with public transportation in a time of need. Costin, you're squinting very, very hard. Why?
I think you're reading it all wrong. And let me tell you what is the emphasis here, the keyword in this whole story, the Romanian SIM card.
Oh shit!
It's not the This is not the Chinese that have access to. Like, why would you have a Romanian SIM card in there? I think that is what everyone is missing in this story. But by the way, there's another somehow maybe related story. If you remember when the war started in Ukraine, like a lot of tractors in Russia stopped working. They were like remotely bricked by the manufacturer. I can't seem to recall the brand of those tractors, but they were like
John
just
Deere?
remotely John Deere, correct.
Which is
So
a big US company.
yeah,
Big, and there's a big story happening simultaneously around the right to repair movement and on John Deere, with all these technologies and Wi-Fi updating systems that are so proprietary on these devices that no one can repair them. You have to go back to John Deere to get them repaired. And now we're starting to see the security implications of it pop up with stories like this, right?
yeah, and the fact that again these electric buses have the Romanian SIM card, it effectively means it's in roaming, right? So that means all the data will go encrypted back to Romania. It will hit the internet through Romania, basically. So Romania, in theory, would also have the ability to, I don't know, at least play with the traffic, snoop on the traffic.
You're saying we're getting
so on.
so caught up with this mistrust of the Chinese that we are underestimating Romanian soft
The
power.
Romanians in the middle.
The Romanian soft power in the middle.
The
Rhythm.
Romanian SIM cards, I tell you, $5 a month, unlimited traffic.
Hey, listen, it's a solid pen test, though. And
It
when
is.
public transportation is involved, and in these times of nation state worry about these things and sabotage reports throughout throughout Europe, and the drones are flying, it's like, wait a second.
I mean,
It's valuable, at least for someone to take a deep breath and say, hey, let's look at these things.
this is not bullshit. Like, it's not bullshit. Why, okay, we have to outsource our manufacturing to China, but the idea that also means there's like a remote control and like software stack that is opaque to us, right? Like, this is the exact same discussion we were having about TP-Link last week.
TP-Link last week,
Except that
yeah.
you go, fucking router, who cares? And you go, fucking bus, right? Like, and a remote control of a bus. Well, like, look, apparently what we've decided is that the Chinese can't stop our cars in the middle of the road. Jeep can, but not the Chinese. I don't know if you guys saw that whole over-the-air update with Jeep where like people were literally like the brakes were slamming at 70 miles an hour. Like, that'll be a wonderful recall, class action lawsuit or whatever the fuck that's going to turn into. But like with this, look, this is a legitimate concern. You're telling me that a country that I could go to war with might be able to stop all public transportation? Like, first of all, they know traffic, volume, and movement across the whole city. And they can just arbitrarily stop this shit. That is a legitimate like force projection capability. That's crazy.
If it's so legitimate, are we going to get to a stage where, like, make your own buses then? Like, why are you depending on my cheap buses?
I think that's the
Right?
current,
I mean,
the current, like, just well, fuck you, what are you gonna do about it is the default. In a world with a little more stability where everybody isn't just holding guns to each other's heads, hopefully we need to come up with a cogent demand. And this is where, like, I really hope we get the reasonable Europeans in the room instead of like the virtue signaling bullshit Europeans, right? Like the kind of people who are just like, oh,
chat control Europeans.
Yeah. The same assholes who go, we need all sovereign data to be processed in the EU. And we need to pass chat control for the 14th fucking time, right? You didn't hear us right this time around, right? Like, it's just fucking virtue signaling bullshit. But if we get the reasonable ones, if the UK were still a part of, the European Union, then maybe what you could come up with is a requirement that says, look, we're going to buy your buses. We need control over the software stack,
cloud
the
compute.
updates need to run through a European infrastructure, right? Like, okay, fine. It's your software stack, it's whatever, but any software that goes through it. Yeah, right. Romania is the hub of all dissemination of updates in the EU. That's where the patching mines are in Romania. That's where those rare earth minerals are coming from.
And let's not forget the option of just removing the SIM card from the bus. And
Just
then no
unplugged it.
problem.
No problem.
Do you
No
guys have
problem.
these Yutong buses in Romania? Do you know?
I have not seen any of these Yutong
Okay.
buses in Romania. No, actually, I have. No, I
Because I
haven't
know
seen
you see a lot
any
of the electric
Chinese.
cars everywhere.
Yeah, Chinese electric cars, yes, and it's kind of crazy that the more people I talk to, and everyone is saying the same thing, that they are cheaper, better, like from every point of view than any other electric cars. And if you try to kind of fight them on an open market, you will lose. Like that's a reality because they're cheaper,
Like
have more
everything
features,
else.
more options. Yeah. So the only real chance to fight them is through tariffs and sanctions.
All right, guys, that's it. That's our show this week. Juanito, you got one last thing?
Nah,
SIM
man.
card.
I was gonna like look, we need to come up
The
with
balkanization of everything is coming.
well, but that only is meaningful if you're also making a manufacturing powerhouse in your ally block. So who the fuck is building buses for us, right? Like, I don't see people
Gilduta
in
talks about this in his paper about like factory capacity for building these robots, right? It's the
You
same
know.
issue all over again.
India vanished. I don't know what happened to the Indians. They're gone. But like, I don't know, guys.
All right. Let's
The
close
other
the show
thing
with
is-
some shout outs.
The other thing is that maybe this is an attempt to simply ban all Romanian SIM cards in the UK. There's the threat from the Chinese buses with embedded Romanian SIM is too high, so let's ban all the Romanian SIM cards. Which
Yeah, that's
reminds
a
me
mitigation.
of another story, which was that Russia is now planning to push a law that whenever you return from abroad with the SIM card, they will block your mobile data for something like 24 hours up to 48 hours. You won't be
To
able to
mitigate
access
what?
the internet to mitigate Ukrainian drones that use the SIM cards in Russia.
For geolocation?
Like for remote
For-
commands,
yeah.
Right.
for things like that, and you will only be allowed to access VKontakte and the Russian government websites and RooTube and other related Russian services for 24 hours, 48 hours. And like knowing Russians, I wonder if everybody will just have like two SIM cards, one that they keep at home all the time and one they travel with, and then they just flip when they come back at home or something like that.
There might be a
This-
SIM card amnesty bin at the airport. That's one of the things I noticed in Ottawa. It's like there's these amnesty bins, not Ottawa, in Montreal, amnesty bins around weed. It's like,
Right.
he's turning your weed here because it's illegal to travel with it internationally.
It's a
ton of
donation
people going
to-
and dropping shit in there.
You're donating
Some
to the
Do they resell
TSA. The
Yeah,
TSA
exactly.
people at the end
I'm
of
like,
the
these
day,
TSA
like their
guys are
shitty jobs, they walk out and they like fucking
just
smoke
high as fuck.
everything.
While you guys think about your shout outs, I just want to say thank you again to Material Security for sponsoring the show. Those guys are good at what they do. I've seen a demo of the platform, and hopefully I'll get a demo for you guys as well at some point down so you can see what it looks like. Congratulations again on the launch of TLP Black. TLPblack.net is where you can go find the services Costin and his team are offering this week. Juanito, I'll punt to you. Any shout outs from your side?
Just a few conference things to kind of look out for. So it looks like for the DC folk who enjoyed Disco District Con last year, this has become kind of like the new shmoo as far as like getting tickets seems to be kind of impossible. But in 2 days, they will be selling the general admission tickets. So I guess get whatever bullshit Eventbrite bot people are using.
When is that conference?
Get that ready. I want to say it's in January or something like that. I should have checked, but like it's it was cool last year. Just getting a ticket is looking really, really difficult. So just kind of put that out there for folks. It's it's friends that are organizing. Cyber WarCon is this week. So our boy John Holquist's Mythical Con may even we'll see if it has power. DC conferences and electricity kind of the two don't seem to meet too well. but also the first edition
I'm
of
amazed
B-Sides
that I'm on the website and I don't have. There's no date on the website for the conference.
for
Anyway,
DistrictCon.
That's the weird thing. I know it's in January. It's sometime in
Yeah.
January. But guys, put the date at the top of your website, please. Like that's the most important thing.
Dude,
Go ahead.
B-Sides Pyongyang is also this week. If you have not heard, the remote event is
In Washington D.C. I
it's
might
not.
add. The one's going to Pyongyang.
It's remote. Everybody can join, and it's looking pretty fucking hilarious. So
How much does it cost?
I think you can just register actually, but B-Sides Pyongyang.
Yeah, there's an agenda.
Yeah,
Pyongyang,
guys.
B-Sides Pyongyang. I apologize to the folks at DistrictCon. It is January 24th to 25th.
You see, man?
It is on the website. It's right on the front page of the website. I was being such a man and couldn't see it. January 24, 25 next year for DistrictCon. I know I've seen some acceptances, and I know a few folks that are already speaking there. I believe the agenda is live, and they're doing some cool stuff around hacking junkyard devices and so on. So it's shaping up to be a pretty cool event. Anything else from your side, Juan?
That's it. I mean, fun things coming this week. Let's see the talks for Cyber WarCon for everybody, and let's see who we pissed off this time with all this talk.
Costin, close the show, please.
Well, shout outs to all the very nice folks at DEF Camp, to the organizers. I think they put together a very cool event. It's bigger than the last year. Can you imagine 4 parallel tracks going on across this huge house of the people? So sometimes you need to walk hundreds of meters between the talks, which is very good for your health. So good. Props for that. I like
hundreds of meters. Is this
hundreds of meters way and back,
What is
back
that
and
in
forth.
real distance?
Meters?
Shit.
Can you in fridges?
1,000 feet.
How many
like that. You
fridges?
need
Football? How many football fields?
1,000 feet, or like if you want, like it's 5 minutes at the speed of 1 knot per hour. Or
Oh my god!
1 mile per hour.
This doesn't work.
Shout out to the
Shout
DEF
out.
Camp folks and all the speakers there. I think there's a listener, a podcast listener that's on Twitter as Harlems was a speaker there at DEF Camp as well. I found that out on Inbar's Twitter feed.
And a lot of people there whom I met, they listen to the show, they listen to the pod, they said it's amazing. So thank
It's
you
all you,
for,
bro.
for
You bring in the
listening.
Romanians.
That's
I
right.
bring the Romanian crowd.
Romanian soft power.
Yeah.
Good
man.
times.
Get those SIM
Thank you,
cards.
thank
bro.
you for that.
That's
And
our show this
by
week,
the way,
everyone.
No,
By the
it's
way,
not. We're
if-
gonna hang out here until it's time for your call,
if
Ryan.
you
Stop.
if you need Romanian SIM cards, hit me up.
Yeah.
On next.
Hey,
Raiu on
Ukrainian
next.
drone
Romanian SIM
operators,
card.
if you guys need some.
Isn't this what the Secret Service found and thought it was a United Nations cyber attack? SIM card farm.
That's right. That's right. Guys.
Bye bye.